if you felt this quiet embarrassment about how often you want out, you're not alone. Wanting to scroll late at night, zoning out more than you planned, imagining a clean break, or just taking time off that somehow leaves you just as tired can carry a sense of shame. It can feel like personal failure. And I want to name that directly and set it down where it belongs. The urge to escape isn't a flaw. It's information. Most capable adults don't want less responsibility. They just want less internal strain. They're very willing to carry the weight. They aren't looking for an easier life necessarily. They're just trying to understand why the life they built keeps tightening around them. So when escape shows up, it's usually pointing to pressure that has nowhere else to go. This makes sense when you look at how many of us learned to function. So you learn to be reliable and useful. You learn to keep moving. Productivity became a way to create safety and meaning at the same time. And it worked. You built a life that looked solid. You kept promises, you delivered. Over time, though, that same strength can build a life that feels very tight on the inside. When productivity becomes the primary organizing principle of your life, everything starts answering the pressure. Decisions get made because they keep things running. Your pace gets set by what needs to be handled next. And then rest turns into recovery for even more output. So that means that even good things can start to feel heavy because they're just carried without space. And none of this means that something's wrong with you. It just means that the system you're running was never designed to be neutral on the inside. So overfunctioning plays a role here that often goes unnoticed. When you regularly carry more than your share, your nervous system learns to stay tight. It learns that staying alert keeps things from falling apart, that fully relaxing isn't safe. So you might look calm on the surface, but inside there's this constant low-level tension. Unfortunately, that tension becomes normal, and you stop noticing it until you try to slow down and then realize that you can't actually slow down. Very small misalignments feed this process, and they rarely arrive as these big dramatic moments. They show up as yeses that cost more than you admit. They show up as standards that were helpful once, but now they only add weight. And each one of those things seems very manageable, but together they create a life that requires escape just for you to be able to breathe. This is where so many people go looking for relief. And relief isn't bad. It can take the edge off. It gives you a break. So relief can be a night off. You can take a trip. It could be a distraction or some new plan. The problem is that relief doesn't change the structure that created the strain. So when the break ends, guess what happens? The same internal pressure just comes right back. Restoration is different. Restoration happens when the way you're living matches what you actually value and what you're called to carry. It happens when all your effort is connected to meaning instead of fear. Now, it doesn't remove responsibility. It just removes the constant friction between who you are and how you're living. Faith matters here, but not as another source of pressure. Faith becomes grounding when it reminds you that your worth isn't produced. It really steadies you when it tells the truth about limits, right? When it anchors you in something deeper than your performance. When faith is used to reinforce pressure, it adds weight. When faith is received as grounding, it gives you a place to stand that doesn't move every time your output changes. A life you don't need to escape isn't easier, but it is more honest. It tells the truth about capacity and desire. And it also tells the truth about what's yours to carry and what isn't. See, alignment isn't optimization. It's really formation. It's the slow work of letting your inner life and your outer life come back into agreement. This kind of alignment very rarely begins with these big changes. It develops through a more honest assessment of how your life is actually holding together. Some parts begin to feel harder to justify. Fatigue is going to carry more weight than it used to. The speed of your daily life no longer feels automatically right. The point isn't self-improvement. It's gaining enough clarity to live without the constant pressure that's been propping everything else up. When alignment increases, the need to escape fades. Not because life gets lighter, but because it gets truer. Pressure no longer has to leak out through distraction. Your nervous system can learn that it's safe to stand down at times. And then rest is going to begin to restore because it's no longer fighting against the rest of your life. Now, if this resonates, I write a weekly letter for people who are tired in a deeper way. It isn't a solution or a system. It's a place for ongoing reflection and steadier formation. If that sounds helpful, you're welcome to join.